We have worked together in the medical field. We used to, just so you guys know, we used to work together. I was an HR director. She's still the CNO at a rural hospital in the Panhandle area. And I've just been so inspired by, just some of the work that she's done. She's I don't know exactly how old she is, but she is very young, I think, to be a CNO, and she's just very impressive. I think she has a great story to share, and I'm just so happy that you're here with us. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alina.
Yeah. So let's dive in, girls. So the podcast is Past the Wine. So we have our wine with us. Do you mind sharing what kind of wine you're drinking?
I am drinking Robert Mondavi Cabernet Sauvignon now. So that's my new pick for the week.
Me too. We're drinking the same thing. That's funny.
Just soul sisters.
Yes, I love a good cab. All right, so do you have your phone on you?
I do.
All right, so I want you to open your phone and tell me, what are the 3 most recent emojis you have in your phone?
Oh gosh, let's see here. I don't even know what to call them. I have the smiley, crying, laughy face, the heart face, and then just a heart. So you can tell that I just like to give a lot of love.
Ooh, girl, yeah, you're like you're laughing or you're crying and you're loving on people. Yeah. Which is so you, by the way. Oh my goodness. Yes. We've had some tough moments together and we've had some good moments. So I think that's what really brings people together, is those tough moments and being able to persevere and overcome them. And it makes you just that much stronger. So that's so telling of you. That's funny. So what is the most embarrassing fashion trend that you used to rock? So I guess in the 80s, 90s, girl, what did you rock back then?
Well, it would have been the early 2000s actually that I rocked this. So I was into punk, so picture Hot Topic. So baggy pants, chains, neon, I had black hair, the whole 9.
Wow. I would love to see pictures of that.
Yes.
I remember.
Quite the attitude to go along with it too.
Oh my God. Wow. I remember. Yeah, that was the early 2000s. That was like the emo phase.
Emo, yep.
Wow. I remember my dad, so I didn't live with my dad, and I remember every year for Christmas and for my birthday, he would send me a Hot Topics gift card, and I was not emo whatsoever. So I would I was like into hip hop and Sean John, and I wanted all like the street clothes, and I was a huge tomboy. And so I remember my mom used to take me to Hot Topic with a gift card, and I would just like look around like, I'll get a wallet. I don't know what I can get in here. I know, good times, right?
Yes. Definitely.
So why don't you tell us where you're from? Tell us a little about yourself.
So I'm originally from Clayton, New Mexico. It's a small town, about 1,000 people in northeast New Mexico. And, I lived there my whole, adolescence. And then I actually went to school about 10 miles away in Texline, which is in Texas. Mm-hmm. So that was fun, applying for colleges and scholarships and all that good stuff. Saying I lived in New Mexico but went to school in Texas. But it was definitely interesting. It was a different upbringing than most people experience. I think it was very good for me because I learned a work ethic from a young age. I would go with my dad and we'd work cattle and ride horses and the whole 9. So it was definitely a different upbringing. So I appreciated that part. I appreciate it now for sure.
So when you were doing all of that, did it teach you hard work? Or were you raised to work really hard? Did it instill that work ethic that you have now, or did that come on later?
No, it definitely instilled that work ethic I had now between my dad and then my mom, who was the city clerk treasurer in Clayton. She worked tirelessly at that job. And, it just, I think what they say about working moms having successful children is true, because you really learn how to work from your parents, and they kind of set the standard. So with both of them working really hard, my dad physically working really hard, and my mom, more administratively in the office setting, it was just a really good experience for me and kind of set the tone for my life. And I always wanted to work. I started working as soon as I could legally.
Yeah, me
And,
too.
just
Absolutely.
kind of the freedom of having your own money, and the just working hard at something, being proud of something, and being able to save for something bigger, I think was important to me back then. So yeah, that's the basis of my work ethic that I have today, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, I hear a lot of stories about young women who were raised at a farm or in that environment, and they're so hardworking now. It seems like it's a perfect predecessor to just being a hardworking woman. So I'm not surprised by that. Um, so how did you get to Delhart, Texas? What brought you there?
So Dalhart is actually just about 45 miles from Clayton. And so I wanted to move back home after having my first child, to be closer to my parents, and family, So we moved back here, and I started looking at my options. This was after I graduated from nursing school. And so I found a job in home health and hospice in Dalhart. So that's where that started. We lived in Texline at the time, or right outside, out in the country. And I commuted to work every day. So that was,
Wow.
yeah, it was interesting. We had a lot of friends here in this area. So friends and family is what brought us back.
Okay, great. And I know you have two beautiful children. I know Sage thought my daughter was her baby, which was so funny.
Oh my gosh, that girl.
Oh, they're so
Loves
funny.
babies.
Does she still like baby
Yeah.
dolls and babies?
Oh, yes. She is
Oh,
definitely going to be the mama type. She is
yeah.
just so funny with that.
How old is she now?
She is 4. She's
Okay.
4, and Kason, my oldest son, he's 6. So they're just
Wow.
so full of energy and keep me on my toes all the time. But
Yeah.
Kason is definitely going to be my architect, mathematician, very type A personality, and Sage is my little free-spirited artist. So I definitely
It's
got both sides of the spectrum.
it's funny how they're always the opposite, right? That's what I see and what I've heard is they're always the opposite when you have two.
Yes.
Wow, that is so funny. So is Sage more like you or her dad?
I would say she's not really like either of us. She's just her own
Her own little
her own
person?
personality. Yes, she is she's 4 now, but she was definitely a three-nager. And
Uh-huh.
I just haven't experienced that kind of attitude from a little girl. So she definitely keeps me on my toes, but she keeps me laughing, to be careful what I laugh about around her.
She's a little firework. I loved her. She was just so
Yeah.
fun. And yeah, you're right. She's very nurturing and
Yes.
she's very extroverted, that's for sure.
Yes.
All right, so tell me how you do it, Miss Superwoman. So we have something else in common besides, our age and just our, drive and thirst for life, but we also are newlyweds. So I know that can be a challenge, just managing being a new wife, kids, work. Like, how do you juggle it all? I know it can be kind of stressful.
Yes, definitely. It's not always easy. There are a lot of times that I feel overwhelmed, to
Hmm.
be completely honest. I think that the most important thing is your partner in all of it, to have a supportive spouse that's in it with you, and not kind of lagging behind.
Yeah.
It's a juggling act, and you have to know which balls it's okay to let drop.
Yeah.
I have a very type A personality, which is a blessing and a curse. But
Mhm.
I have had to learn how to be a A- personality, and it saved my sanity for sure. Um,
Yeah.
and as far as, just you have to really just decide that this is my goal, this is what I can accomplish, and you have to give the rest up to God.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you can only do so much. You have this, you have the bandwidth, and I don't know you very, very well, but I know you well enough to where we worked together 2 years. And if someone asks you to do something, you're going to get it done, and you're going to push yourself to meet that deadline, even if you have to
Yes.
delegate it to somebody. But yeah, it's very important to have that support system and to have a husband that understands what you're going through and to have that open communication. So I absolutely know what you're talking about. Like, I have many, many vent sessions with him, and we mesh really, really well because we're opposite in the fact that I'll come home and I'm venting to him about what's going on, and he's so calm and chill, and he's like this rock, and he gives really good advice, and he doesn't ever say anything bad about anybody, which is, one of the things that I love about him. And so you're right. Like, I think a lot of that stress can be alleviated, just with talking with your partner and making sure that you have that strong bond.
Mhm.
Now, I know he has kids too, right? He has
Yes.
kids, and now you guys are a blended family. And
Yes.
how is that? Tell me, how has that been? I know that can be difficult too.
Yes, it can be. I think a blessing for me in this is that I was born into a blended family myself, so I've never known anything different. It does come with a unique set of challenges, but my mom has pearls of wisdom that have really helped me reorient my perspective on it. And I think, it's just important to, really try to bring the family together and make those connections, build those relationships up. Um, and it's it's not always going to work out perfectly, but that's okay. It's okay to have, um, just a little bit of a mess that you have to clean up sometimes. And,
Mhm.
life isn't perfect. And I think we get stuck thinking that it should be. And that's where people find that they get unhappy with their lives. So, um, it's definitely takes a lot of organization to try to make important events and get to see everybody, which COVID has only made that harder.
Mhm.
So that is one thing I wish we could see, his kids more often and his family. So, but
Yeah, yeah.
we just stay strong and work through it. And I think the relationship between you and your partner is the foundation for that. You have to make sure that that's strong first.
Absolutely. So, what are some ways that you and your husband, like, what are some things that you guys do to strengthen your bond? Have you had time to do that? I know with me and my husband, it's like, oh, we work, come home, we make dinner, we put the kids to
Yeah.
bed. Do you guys have time to even do that?
You have to make time, I think, um, to go on a date or to go out of
Mm-hmm.
town. and you just have to make time to focus on your relationship, because it's so easy to put that to the side and focus on work, kids, everything else. But if you don't have that strong foundation, then you're just kind of left feeling frazzled or frayed and
Yeah.
not at your strongest. So you definitely want to make sure that, you know, you take care of building that relationship. So we go on little mini trips to Amarillo and, you know, just try to rekindle our romance and that kind of stuff. And it really helps, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. Those date nights or weekend getaways really do help. And so just for the audience that that don't know who you are, so you live in a small town, rural town, about what, 80 miles from Amarillo, is that right?
Yeah.
80
Yes.
miles, yeah. And so I remember when I started working at the hospital, I was just so impressed with how you guys would like go out, go to the city and do things every now and then. That's really important. So there's never an excuse. I'll say that.
No. You
All
can make
right.
1,000.
I know. So what made you go into the medical field, Janae? Why were you interested in going that route?
So I think that the really pivotal moment for me was at a career fair in high school.
Mhm.
There was a surgeon there teaching kids how to stitch up a blue towel, which is just a OR surgical towel, um, and letting us practice with this little simulator for robotic surgery. And that was really my entry point into even knowing anything about the medical field. So I was so intrigued with this. It just had a lasting impression on me. And because I had never experienced anything like it, and
Mhm.
nobody in my immediate family was in the medical field at that time. So I just
Oh.
had to know more. And so I started looking at my options for how I could get involved in healthcare. And, you know, originally started out on the pre-medicine track. Some life got in the way at that time, and I
Mhm.
decided, you know, I really want to go into a nursing job where I have more patient care time, and it's less time to graduation as well. And it's really been a good fit for me and my personality, because there's so many different things that you can do within the nursing
Mhm.
field. It's just, you can, you know, be from bedside to administration to education. And then even at the bedside, there's so many different fields that you
Yeah.
can go into. So you're never bored. It's never mundane. And if it gets that way, there's always some other field that you can try. And I think that's just awesome. And I'm really happy with that career choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my daughter has said that she's interested in going into nursing, and she's thought about being a pediatric nurse, and she's also thought about being a nurse practitioner. Um, and I said, well, there's just so many different, I
Mhm.
mean, areas that you can go into, and that was one of the perks about I think working at a rural hospital is that you had experience to so many different areas. And now that I work at a larger hospital, one of the largest in Dallas, my gosh, it's so specialized and so segregated. It's like night and day
Mhm.
from a rural hospital. And after being at this place of employment, I keep thinking about like what a great opportunity that was for
Mhm.
nurses at a rural hospital to get all of that experience and to be able to do all of that, you know, at their
Yeah.
fingertips, because you don't get that at a bigger hospital. Um, so yeah, you're right. There's just so many different places that you could venture into in nursing. So I
Yep.
can see how that would be really rewarding. So you said that you knew in high school, you went to a job fair.
Mhm.
Walk us through your journey for us. So where did you, I know you grew up in New Mexico and you ended up in Delhart. Can you just walk through our story for us? So what this podcast is about empowerment, women from all walks of life. So we're going to talk to business owners. You're a chief nursing officer, single moms, everyday working women, and just dive into your story, and so that way we can get to know you a little better. What was your journey like?
So I graduated valedictorian from Texas Line High School. We had
I
a
didn't
class
know
of
that.
9.
Wow. Oh.
That was our class.
Wow, 9.
Yes. So we were very close in that class, and that was a good experience. I loved my high school experience as well. There was no cliques.
Yeah.
So it was just great. I got to be involved in everything that the school had to offer, and the teachers really cared about you. So I thought that was awesome.
Do you still
So
talk to them
then,
to this day? Because there was only 9 of you.
yes,
Are you guys still friends?
Yeah, well, actually, I have some of my classmates have kids in the same grade that my daughter's in.
Oh, wow.
So people that I graduated, their kids are now going to school with my kids. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yes. So then I went on to college at Texas Tech University in Lubbock. I completed my Bachelor of Science in Nursing there. And then I applied for my first nursing job at University Medical Center, and I was accepted into the cardiac ICU internship. I worked there for about a year and a half, and I took care of patients who had just had open heart surgery. I would manage multiple drips and different equipment. And then I had my first child, and that's when we decided to move home. And that was where my career started in Dalhart. So I started out as the RN case manager for home health and hospice.
And if you don't mind me asking, sorry, I'm going to stop you there for a second.
Okay.
How old were you at that time?
I was, gosh, how old was I at that time? I would have been 22, going on 23.
Wow. That's a lot. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, I took a little bit of time off with my first child. I took about 7 months before I went back into the workforce, but I was ready to go. I'm not a stay-at-home mom by any means.
Yeah.
I need to be working. So so then I started there as the RN case manager. And in less than a year, I was promoted to the hospice director of clinical services. So I oversaw the hospice program there. And then I was promoted again to the administrator of the agency. And during that time, I just wanted to point out a key person in my success was Callie Garcia. She believed in me. She pushed me to reach my full potential. And I think that is so important.
That's great. Yeah.
She was definitely a mentor to me, and I can't thank her enough for, just really pushing me.
And do you still talk to her to this day?
Yeah, we do. We're
good.
still friends. Yes. And I still consider her mentor. If I'm having a rough time, I pick up the phone and text her and, seek that advice from her. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Really
so
important.
shortly after that, the CNO position at the hospital came open. So I applied for the position. I was definitely younger than most of the nursing staff, so I knew I would have to prove myself again and again. But I really started by just setting non-negotiable standards and goals for myself and my team. I made sure that I was at the table for any important discussions that were happening regarding nursing staff in the upper level management. And I brought new ideas to my bosses, and they were willing to try different things. So I think that was great. Most of all, I worked really, really, really hard. It's always been my mindset that I might not be the smartest or most experienced person for the job, but I can work the hardest to achieve my goals. So I definitely, had a rapid, basically, promotion after starting my career. And I think, you just make those relationships and meet those people that really have a huge impact on your life. And, you know, it's just kind of meant to be.
Yeah, yeah, I believe in that. Absolutely. So through your journey, you had mentioned that Kelly was a good mentor of yours, or she was your mentor. Um, what did she do, or maybe what are some things that she said to you that still stick with you to this day?
I think with her, it was more of an energy, like feeding off of each other, having new ideas. And, when that CNO position came open, I didn't immediately apply for it because it was at that time, people were telling me I was going to go into the lion's den. And, it's kind of scary, but she said, why don't you apply for that position? Like, what are you waiting for? You
So
can
she
do it.
saw that in you.
So,
She already saw it,
yeah.
right?
Yes,
Wow.
she identified that and definitely, pushed me to stretch, to grow.
Yeah. And that's what a mentor is about, right? Seeing your
Mhm.
potential and seeing what that vision is for yourself, for them to see that and to know that you can get there. Even those times when we doubt ourselves, that they're there to say, no, you can do it, and they'll push you to get there. So that's one thing I want us to talk about later on is mentors and how important that is to your growth and moving up. And even if you don't want to move up within a company, how to be the best version of yourself, no matter what title you have or what capacity you hold. So that's a great point. So let's talk about being a working mom. So what are some misconceptions that you think people have with being a working mom?
I think that people think that we're not dependable, maybe, that we'll miss work all the time for our kids' events. But I can guarantee if you take care of a working mom, she'll be the most dependable, loyal employee that you have. Um, I think in the nursing fields, we're a majority of women there, so we really help each other attend important life events for our kids, and that's really important to me that I do that for my employees. Make sure that they get to attend those things. And I think it's just a different mindset that an employer has to have about that. And I think we're breaking the glass ceiling one piece at a time.
Yeah, I know that's right. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That is true. I often, well, early on in my career, I'm not old, but I'm like you, I started working when I was legally able to. I started in HR right out of high school, and I would not talk about my personal life. I was very guarded. I wouldn't tell them I'm a single mother, that I had a kid,
Right.
just because I knew that would come with them thinking, oh, she's not reliable. I don't want to bother her. And I wanted to grow and I wanted to work really hard and I wanted those opportunities. So you're absolutely right. Like, I think that is a huge misconception is that we're unreliable, but
Mhm.
if you take care of us, man, I'm telling you, those flex schedules help. I'm like, you
Yes.
just let me deal with this and I will be there until 2 a.m. whenever you need me.
Yes. Yes,
So,
definitely.
yeah. So where do you see yourself? You've accomplished a lot. I mean, gosh, going through your journey and where you are today. I mean, it was a fast track to a CNO position. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
I would really love to be running my own consulting company and traveling. I think that I have a lot to offer other rural hospitals. I've seen a lot of the issues that we have and experienced them firsthand. I've come through them with my nursing staff and other ancillary departments. So I think that would be my ultimate goal is to have my own my own business.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives you a lot of freedom, and not only
Yes.
that, but just the ability to create something, and
Mm-hmm.
you're knowledgeable in that
Building
area.
something. Yes.
Yeah,
Building something.
exactly. So I think you touched on this already, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So who is one person that stands out to you that influenced you the most?
You know, I did talk about Callie earlier, but I really have to give this one to my mom. So I grew up seeing how hard she worked, how proud she was of her job, uh, what she accomplished. I spent many an evening with her at the office while she finished reports. And she really showed me that you can have a career and raise a child that adores you. So um, I knew that if she could do it, she was a single mom, that I could do something like that too. So she definitely inspired me to be in the leadership position, in the administrative side that I am today.
Okay.
I grew up seeing how hard she worked and how proud she was of her job. I spent many an evening with her at the office while she finished reports. And she showed me that you can have a career and raise a child that adores you. So that was really important and really influenced me to go after my career that I have now.
So when you were that little girl in your mom's office, did you know then that you wanted to do what you're doing today? I know you said in high school, that's when you kind of figured it out, but when you were that age, what did you want to do? Did you want to be a singer, entertainer?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I loved Selena. My mom could tell you a story about she was trying to do a return over the phone or something, having some important conversation, and I was in the background karaokeing.
That's funny.
So yes, it's just I didn't really know what I wanted to be back then. I'm kind of have that fluid personality. Like I can't tell you a favorite song or favorite color. It changes.
Yeah, me too. I am the same way.
I like to try different things and experience different things, and I love a challenge. So the medical field really intrigued me, and I know it's going to be a challenge because, I didn't have anything to base it off of, anybody else's experience.
So consulting would probably be a perfect fit for you then, if you like to go with the flow. And I think you would be really good at that, actually. So that I didn't know that about you. That's funny you said that. Wow. So what are 3 pieces of advice that you would tell to your younger self?
So I would tell my younger self, don't settle. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, but also take time for yourself, take care of yourself, and don't let anybody derail your dreams because they don't believe in you or they don't believe that you can do it. So that is what I would advise my younger self.
Great.
That was probably more than 3.
It's okay. It's okay. You touched all the bases. That's what matters. You're good. So what advice do you have to young women who aspire to be in your shoes or, just in a leadership position?
I really think it's important for women to find their voice, especially young women, and really determine what your personal mission is. Set those goals. It's not easy. You'll need to grow a thick skin. You'll have to prove yourself again and again. So I think that's really important to understand and know who you are and what you want to achieve in life. But you also need to take time for yourself. You can't give from an empty plate. Know what can wait until later and be okay letting it wait. But never, ever, ever stop learning and improving yourself.
Mhm. Great advice. So we are discussing today the topic of empowered women in the workplace, because you yourself are an empowered woman in the workplace, and you have an amazing story and journey. You've gone through a lot. Like I said, we work together, and you've seen me cry, I've seen you cry. I mean, we've had really tough moments. I think what really matters, as far as telling young women, so I like to go into that segment if you're ready, as far as talking about that and what that means. Um, we both started working at a really young age, and we've seen a lot. And I know for myself, I've often had to prove myself to middle-aged white men, and I was maybe 22, 23, having to give a 42-year-old white man advice, on how to cancel his staff. And so, of course, I'm thinking, God, this could be really awkward. But I want us to talk about this so women who are maybe in our shoes now or have been in our shoes and they can relate, to have that conversation. So, what are some things that you did early on and that maybe you do now when you're in that round table setting, when you're sitting at the table and you're leaning in, like that book says? What are some thoughts that go through your head? Because we all have that internal talk to ourselves, right? When we're mentally preparing for a meeting or when we're getting ready to speak up. We've been at tables together, and I know you're always like the first to speak up. You're pretty vocal. So what goes through your mind before that? Like, how do you prep yourself to do that if maybe you're scared or you don't want to speak up?
For me, it's important to kind of build a relationship with the people I'm talking to. So get to know them, get to know what kind of drives them, and where they're coming from. So that way you're able to speak to them in a way that they can hear you. I think that's important. Know basically what side they're on, what side of the table they're on before you go into that. And don't go into it with a confrontational attitude. Go into it smiling and positive, and but ready to stand your ground when you need to. I think setting the tone for it in a positive way will get you where you want to be a lot more often than going in with confrontation first.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's the foundation for really just being successful, is being able to speak with people from all walks of life, and knowing that, or for them to know that you really just want to understand where they come from, and you're approaching them with an open heart, and not saying it has to be done this way, but approaching it as, okay, this is a conversation that we can have. Let's work together to accomplish this one goal, and to be a relator, and to understand where everyone is coming from. And so when you're put into a position, so early on in your career, so if we have, say, a 23-year-old and they're graduated out of high school or college, and they just joined the workforce, right? And they're trying to navigate their way through being the youngest person on the team, how to present themselves professionally, how to speak in meetings. I think that's a great point, and that's probably the biggest takeaway that they can take with them, is being a sponge and absorbing as much as you can, and being respectful, of those that have been in the industry a long time. I've met young professionals that graduated out of college, and they're like, I know everything, and I'm in this coordinator position now, and listen to me. That's not how you build relationships. It really is about having that humility and knowing that, hey, we don't know everything. and just collaborating with others, because it's not about, I saw this earlier this week, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you and how you can network together to accomplish a bigger goal. So building relationships, gaining respect, at a minimum is, yeah, you're right, is the most important thing that we can do in our career. And that's why networking is so important, because if you don't take the time to know who you're working with, and it's just not on a professional level, it's, you know, do you know who they are? What, you know, what kind of personality do they have? What is their work style? Just taking that 5 to 10 minutes to get to know who you're working with on a personal level and building that rapport, so that way when you get to that professional level and you respect each other, I think people are more open and willing to hear others' opinions and perspectives. So yeah, that's great.
And I think it's hard for especially the millennials and younger to really build that social aspect of leadership. But if you know that that's your weakness, then definitely work on that and challenge yourself to learn how to create those relationships, because we have a lot to offer the world. Millennials will storm the gates of hell with a water pistol. Give them the purpose. So they will be, they do have a lot to give. And I think that's another barrier that young women have, is there's this stigma around millennials and the younger generations, that we're just not serious enough, or we can't be taken seriously, we don't have good work ethic or social skills. So I think you have to break down those barriers and prove that you can do that, especially if you have people from the older generations at the table.
Yeah, I would say, and you tell me if you feel the same, we come from different industries, so it may be different, but I know in the HR community in my 20s, it really was all about gaining respect, improving myself, and learning, gaining knowledge. It takes time to learn. It takes time to know your stuff. And I do feel like, you know, starting at an earlier age, starting in high school, and then getting my first professional job right out of high school, if that's you, take that time, really take that time to be present and to find that person that is the go-to person. Who's the go-to person in your department? Who do you see that other people respect, and try and learn as much as you can from them in your 20s. I mean, and then like even in your late 20s, you're going to catch on, and you're going to be the go-to person, and that's what's going to elevate you to be the best version of yourself, and to not be so hard on yourself. I know in my 20s, I was in HR because I was a single mom, and it was a safe job and it was stable. But I'm also very creative, and I wanted my esthetician license. I wanted to do facials and makeup, and you know, there's all these other things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't monetize at the time because I didn't know how, and I couldn't provide a stable income. But just know, if you're in that situation and you're in your 20s, if you need in your position where, look, you need to have a 9 to 5, you need a stable job, you need that paycheck, do it. Don't sacrifice your quality of life because you're like, oh, I want to go off and do a podcast full time and I'm going to make all this money. Like, you don't know that. Like, it's really scary out there. Do that on the side. Do that in the evenings. Do that on the weekends. And, you know, get your paycheck and have your steady job. But I think the key is to be a sponge and to learn as much as you can at that age. And God, if you're really passionate about what you do, you're going to catch on so quick. And I hated HR when I first started because I felt like I was the cop of the company, and people only came to us when they were hired or fired, or there was an issue. And so I think also tapping into different areas of whatever you're doing. So like an RN, if you know you're a nurse, seeing what else is out there. You're not only confined to, a NICU nurse or whatever you fall into. There's other areas that you can specialize in, and really into any industry you're in. It just takes a matter of time. Be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. I have a lot of crying moments when things get really tough, but I don't let anybody see it unless I really trust them. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just about being tough, having that work ethic, and 9 times out of 10, your work ethic is going to outweigh, I think, really any talent you have. If you're the hardest working person in the room, you're going to
Yes,
get it done.
definitely. And knowing your own worth and being enough for yourself is really the building block for your empowerment. If you have that confidence, then other people are going to see that too. But nobody's going to give you anything that you're not willing to work for.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So what are the top 3 things that you absolutely live by? Like, what are your top 3 core values?
So for me, in my position, it's engagement. How do you engage your employees, engage your nursing staff? How do you empower them? I do the 3 E's: engage, empower, educate. And so if I can engage them and I can empower them, I can educate them, I can reach them, and we can have an amazing hospital. And so that's kind of my mantra. It has been. It was up on my little whiteboard that I had at the bottom. It said engage, empower, educate. So that's what I live by. And you really have to learn how to speak in a way that people are going to listen, to engage your audience, whoever it may be. And to do that, you're going to have to know who they are and build those relationships like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I love that whiteboard in your office. I don't know if you still have it or not, but that was the first thing I noticed when I met you for the first time, is your whiteboard full of quotes and affirmations and
goals. You got to put them up there.
You have to. Absolutely. So so you want to be in the consulting world for rural hospitals. So what if that doesn't happen? What's plan B? Do you have a plan B in place? If you weren't a CNO, like, what else would you do with your life? What other industry would you go into?
I really love tech and just the innovative field. So I would go into probably the private sector of business and see what I could get into on that side. I don't really know. I'm really willing to try anything. Or I could go back to school and further my education in the clinical side. So that's another great thing about the nursing field is you can always build on what you have. So you're never just out in the wind. You can always do something else within that field. So, or I could go back to the bedside. I love actual patient care as well, and I still get to do quite a bit of it in my current role. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we're running a little past an hour now. What does success mean to you? When you hear that, how do you define success?
I really think that success is when you can help other people see their value and really build somebody else up. So you're setting a foundation that is sustainable. So I guess for success for me and my role would be building something that can just be passed on and is sustainable, and being really good at patient care, having a good hospital that people trust. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today. It was really good to see you, Janae.